Tonight, Mr Mayor, I will be presenting the Council's Housing Revenue Account Budget. I stand here resolute, determined not to let the noise and distractions of recent weeks get in the way of what needs to be done, remaining focused on the challenges and opportunities which lie ahead for our borough. This is a moment of reckoning, a chance for me to lay bare the harsh realities of the financial decisions made by our Labour predecessors and the opportunity to acknowledge the strides we Conservatives have made since taking control. Mr Mayor, I've said many times in this chamber that if our Conservative group had not taken control of this council when we did, this council would undoubtedly be bankrupt. This wasn't just a flippant remark. I meant every word, and tonight I'll finally be able to tell people how I know this for sure. Literally, since our first day in control, not even 3 years ago, we were met by challenges caused by the previous Labour incumbents, poor financial management, poor project decision-making and lack of forward planning. Our first red flag was the Bedworth Physical Activity Hub not being fully funded, and it's been one thing after another ever since. Luckily, we built our finance team up to the excellent strength that we have today, and together we have left no stone unturned with this budget. I've said before, we keep lifting up the carpet and finding what Labour has swept under, and boy, there was a lot. In the last 12 months or so, this Conservative administration has put the inner workings of our council under the microscope, subjected it to intense scrutiny and examination, stress testing to see where failures could occur, and quite rightly so. It was obvious that nothing like this had ever been done before. The revelations of past mismanagement have been absolutely shocking. Absolutely shocking. But given who the succession of decision makers have been, it's not been a surprise. They have without doubt cast a long shadow over our HRA financial landscape, and with it the potential of this council. This is where the stark reality of past mismanagement has truly come to light. Most of the financial issues have been traced back to decisions made by Labour in 2012. I've spoken previously about how in 2012 the council needed to buy its council housing stock back off the government. Now you can argue the rights and wrongs of this till the cows come home. But the upshot was a debt was secured to do this with numerous loans over a lengthy period of time. The intention appears to be to refinance this debt every time repayment was due, effectively never paying off the debt, simply building more and more and more debt. This debt burden has weighed heavily on our shoulders and threatened to derail the financial stability of this council. At the same time as having mortgage payments and only paying off the interest, at the end of the repayments you still have the main debt to clear. So, Mr Mayor, what did we discover that was so awful? Well, to put it simply, the business plan we inherited would have left us with an outstanding debt, this is a debt, of close to £300 million. That's over £250 million related to the housing revenue account. Mr Mayor, not only would we have continually had to borrow to pay back, but at the end of the business plan term, we would have still been left with an outstanding debt of over £250 million. That is a financial extinction level event for this organisation. In fact, we wouldn't have even got that far. It would have ended us well before that. And I can't even get my head around how it was signed off as being sustainable. I can't impress on people enough just what a mess we've had to unpick. The Labour Party should be thoroughly ashamed for what they've done. And to be absolutely clear, this isn't me politicising anything here. These are the figures that have been worked out by our finance team, and they're detailed, almost forensic analysis of what has gone before. This is also why we are still conducting a detailed review of the Housing Revenue Account business plan. The mitigating actions we're taking today is for us to completely reassess and rewrite the business plan. That's why I'm only proposing a 1-year stopgap budget today. That's basically gives us a bit of time to actually do the continuing due diligence and put the effort in to get things right. I'd also like to make it clear that in the meantime the debt repayments will be managed within the business plan. but we won't end up with anywhere near the predicted levels should we have simply carried on as we were. All of these reviews will be happening while we continue to sort out the backlog of works and get the housing stock up to a manageable standard. So not only are we trying to do business as usual, but we're trying to sort out all of this stuff going on in the background as well. And that I cannot impress on that enough. Mr. Mayor, I have been publicly criticised by certain people for not producing information quickly enough. Complaints about not producing HRA business plan or the plan of what we're doing with the garage sites. To these people I say, the state we found this council in, not just the HRA but across the board, warrants the time it's taken to get to this point. Measure twice, cut once. I can also confirm that on our current schedule, a full breakdown of the financial plan and reserves will be reported to Cabinet in autumn, although this may be subject to change should we find anything else that requires more in-depth investigation. So I'm not committing to a timeline yet because I genuinely don't know whether we're going to need to extend or not, because we keep finding all these little nasties waiting for us. It's easy for those carping up from the sidelines on who any normal day misrepresents what's happening at this council, who tweet inaccurate and ill-informed information when they actually have no idea what's been going on or the monumental effort which has been put in by a small number of people to get this financial juggernaut back on a straight road. But the people of the borough need to know. And now, today, finally, I can actually get it off my chest. Labour were asleep at the wheel, driving all of us headlong to financial oblivion in exactly the same way we've seen happening in Birmingham. They simply cannot add up. No strategy, no plan, no clue. But tonight, I don't just want to talk about the financial and next level incompetence of past decision makers. I also want to talk about the hope and resilience of my teams. I'm a leader committed to facing the challenges head on and forging a path towards prosperity. Over the past 12 months, our council has undertaken a comprehensive process of internal reforms, restructuring our teams, streamlining our operations, and making the tough decisions necessary to set us on a course towards sustainability and success. My housing and communities team have been no exception. And Mr. Mayor, let me be clear, this is not over yet. The road ahead will not be easy. It will require sacrifices, tough choices, and unwavering resolve. But in the face of adversity, we must be guided by the conservative principles of prudence, accountability to the taxpayer, and transparency. I'm pleased to say that after all of our work, the HRA budget position for the upcoming year is actually balanced, but it doesn't come without challenges. A rent increase of 7.7% is proposed, a measure that may not be popular, but one that is necessary to ensure the long-term financial health of our HRA. I also need to be clear that this takes our average rent to £95.69 per week. And that's well under the local housing allowance, which is £155.34 per week. And the majority of our tenants are actually eligible for assistance with their rent, so it's not a direct hit to their pockets. Mr. Mayor, this year we are not increasing garage rents, although I would like to confirm that we do have a waiting list for people who want to rent a garage from us, even at the increased rates as set out in the last budget, which was provided an uplift to overall rental income. Amidst the challenges, there are reasons for optimism. Our commitment to new build projects continues unabated, with new homes set to provide much needed revenue streams for the council. From Vale View to Byford Court, from Armson Road to Chevrolet Road, these projects represent not just bricks and mortar, but hope and opportunity for our residents. Mr. Mayor, our efforts extend beyond the realm of construction. We're investing in the future of our borough in countless ways, from upgrading the housing stock to enhancing the quality of life for our residents. Let me share with you some of the remarkable achievements that we've accomplished on behalf of our communities, all against the backdrop of Labour's ticking financial time bomb. We've embarked on a comprehensive programme of repairs and maintenance, ensuring that our housing stock remains safe, secure and of the highest quality. From new kitchens and bathrooms to upgraded heating systems and fire safety measures, the old outdated ways of service provision have been changed in order to provide the best possible living conditions for our tenants. We've made significant investments in tenant support and engagement, recognising that our residents are more than just tenants, they're our neighbours, our friends and the backbones of our communities. I've overseen the restructuring of our housing and communities teams to better reflect our borough, its needs, and this Conservative administration's strategic aims. And I've never been shy about saying that I have a zero tolerance approach for antisocial behaviour within our borough and within our council housing stock in particular. And the teams have really, really delivered on that. Our tenancy engagement teams are providing support for vulnerable individuals, offering money management sessions to help prevent issues before they even start. Mr Mayor, we are committed to ensuring that every resident feels valued and supported. We have launched innovative initiatives to tackle antisocial behaviour and improve community cohesion. From April 2023 to the 31st of January 2024, my ASB teams dealt with 342 cases, leading us to becoming one of the best authorities in the country at dealing with this toxic behaviour. We've improved and continue to improve our tenancy engagement, increasing the numbers of officers dedicated to this. From launching our tenants' Facebook page to rolling out neighbourhood programmes with Stand the Van, which if none of you have seen Stand the Van, you will be seeing it very soon, and linking in with community policing initiatives. All of my housing and communities teams are working tirelessly to create a safer, more harmonious environment for all. And I'm going to take this opportunity, Mr Mayor, to give my sincere thanks to everybody in my teams, because they have absolutely pulled it out of the bag over this last 12 months against a backdrop of, financial issues that I've already discussed. And I do have to mention them. They've done really well. Mr Mayor, this Conservative group's strategic aims are clear. We prioritise the well-being of our residents, be they tenants of this council or not, recognising that health and happiness are essential ingredients to thriving communities. Providing access to support services and facilities, we are committed to ensuring that every resident has the opportunity to lead a fulfilling and rewarding life. We also recognise that some need more help than others. Now we have a customer accounts team to deal with rent collections and arrears. We want to support people to pay their rent and maintain their tenancies, something good for both them and the taxpayers of this borough, something that's never been done before. However, this doesn't mean we're a soft touch. For those unwilling to work with us, not unable, Mr Mayor, unwilling, we will take action to recover the outstanding money. We owe that to the taxpayer. Mr Mayor, since our last HRA budget, we have also carried out a lot of repair and upgrade works to our housing stock. 84 new kitchens, 56 new bathrooms, 326 new windows, 195 doors to new homes, to homes, remedied 346 priorities arising from the fire risk assessments. We've installed 331 fire doors across the general purpose blocks of flats and independent living units. We've delivered so far 76 level access showers. We've installed 16 stair lifts and 1 through the floor lift to support people to be independent in their own homes for longer. We've upgraded the central heating of 230 homes. We've installed external wall insulation to 170 homes, which will tackle fuel poverty, which is the main driver for me, is actually tackling fuel poverty, not necessarily the reduction in a carbon footprint, although that is a good unintended consequence. My main thing is fuel poverty. We've carried out a total of 305 fencing jobs in this time as well, which equates to over 1,000 metres of fencing. We've also embraced technology and innovation to improve service delivery and enhance the overall experience for our residents, from launching a new housing system to digitising our processes and procedures. Better use of technology to drive efficiency, transparency and accountability across our organisation. And I must draw people's attention to the fact that when I took over, everything was run on spreadsheets. Everything. You cannot run a maintenance depot on an Excel spreadsheet, but that's what I inherited. It's been absolutely ridiculous. You are not able in staff to fulfil their roles by doing that. You can't do it. So not only are we improving our existing stock, but we're building new ones too. At Valeview, we've got 14 new homes that will be completed and ready for new tenants by August. Byford Court is providing 12 new homes and will be completed and ready for new tenants in May. We've submitted planning permission for 15 new homes at Armstrong Road and a further 8 new homes at Chevrolet Road, as well as buying 3 properties on the open market. Mr Mayor, by the end of March, my team will have completed a full stock condition survey of our homes to allow me to rightly prioritise the future strategic investments for this council. I can do that because I will have certainty in the base data. Something which I haven't actually had up until this point. We were led to believe it was available, but you know, running on spreadsheets, nothing's going to be bang on that, is it? This is another reason basically why the business plan is taking longer than it should, because not only have we had to unpick all the financial stuff, we've had to unpick all the operational stuff as well. I and my current team cannot put together an accurate and sustainable business plan without good data. It's fair to say that unlike my Labour predecessors, with me as the portfolio lead on housing communities, the shackles have most definitely come off my teams. In the wider context and the economic situation of this council, it was completely hidden from view. It was bad, but now people should be aware of what's been going on and what we've had to deal with. We weren't daunted either, so that's something else. We aren't a reed to be shaken by the wind, but we are a party of unbending principles. And to those waiting with bated breath, hoping for me to fail, or that I'll be forced out, I shall say this: I have more to do. This is yet another inconvenient truth for you to hear, but no one should be in any doubt that the absolute financial failure which Labour has brought to this council, the clear lack of understanding from Labour at what they were overseeing, is utterly astounding. And for those who will argue that auditors have said that everything's okay, no. Auditors just confirm that you're not doing anything illegal. They don't go beyond that. If they did, Birmingham would not be bankrupt. It's amazing, Mr. Mayor, that Nuneaton didn't go bankrupt years ago. You should also never forget that the Greens have said right here in this chamber that they would abolish this council completely. That's something else. We talk about risk. The Greens brought up risk before. The biggest risk to this authority is listening to the stuff that you put out on your social media, in this chamber, and then coupled with the option of Labour potentially running this council again. That is a huge, huge risk. Mr. Mayor, people should never be in any doubt that only a Conservative leadership, with its stress on sound money management, value to the taxpayer, focus on service, improvements, and understanding of the limits of local government at its very best, is the very best and only guarantee of economic and democratic and strategic longevity of this council. Finally, let me reaffirm our Conservative commitment to building a better future for all of those who call Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough home. Let me share our aspirations to build a better borough for everyone. This takes time, and in less than 3 years that we've had, it isn't nearly enough. Give us the opportunity to continue. By proposing this housing revenue account budget to the council, we are playing a significant part in building a sustainable legacy for this borough. And I thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I now submit this budget to the council.
Thank you, Councillor Gold. Do I have a second?
Second in reserve, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Croft. I'll open up for now debates. Councillor Convict.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yet more personal attacks. Totally off topic as per usual. I do have to question what's been going on over the last 3 years. Everything is always, we found more things in the closet, we found this, we found that. But you never tell us what you actually found. It's always the previous administration or this or that. We had accounts under Labour, we have accounts of you, but we have no business plan. You've been in charge for 3 years. You should be at the state now where we can go in, Dawn Dawson and the accounts team, and go and show us spreadsheets of your 20 or 30 or 50-year business plan. But you can't do that yet. Under Labour, I saw the business plans when the Conservative government made councils take on all the debt. Yeah, the councils own their own council housing, and then you say 2012, I think it's around there, the councils were made to then buy back the debt and the homes again, putting loads of debt back onto the councils, which they then had to finance over the next few decades with massive public loan works bonds, PW, whatever they are. And you talk about 300 million. Well, these plans were planned for many, many decades. And if you don't ignore inflation, then what is 100 million today in 20 or 30 years' time becomes 300 million. So it'd be nice if you shared all your spreadsheets and you're working for these crazy claims about millions and hundreds of millions. But if you look in the paperwork for today and the Treasury Management, we can see capital finance requirement in 22-23 for housing was 75 million. And by the time we get to 26-27, which is 4 years on, it becomes 116 million. You can see how these debt levels just rise astronomically with both the effects of inflation and us building more houses. But if we build £40 million worth of housing and we have £40 million more debt, we aren't actually worse off, and people actually have a home to live in. So I would love to see your new business case, long-term things, and it'd be really good if you ever produce one. A few more things I need to say. It is really good for some people to have zero tolerance. We quite rightly need to clamp down on antisocial behaviour. But I do fear if we have a single focus without understanding why particular antisocial behaviour happens. We can ignore problems and create new problems where people have, for example, special needs, all sorts of people with low capacities to understand what's going on, and they annoy neighbours. Then there needs to be sometimes people working to actually solve some of these problems, rather than just using the stick always on people who don't always understand what's going on. So I totally get it that a lot of time we do need zero tolerance, but I believe this council is using zero tolerance sometimes on vulnerable people, people with special needs, and actually ending up taking them through the judicial system where they shouldn't do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cundicle. Councillor Shines.
Thank you. We moved the amendment on the HRA budget and I propose amendment.
Do you have a second of that? Thank you. If we could view that, please. Have a copy thereof.
Yeah, you've all got that there? Brilliant, thank you. So, ad hoc HRA account capital has been put together based purely on officer advice. So, we've been advised that the contingency budget is to be reduced by 174,000, the PIR electrical work to be reduced by 367,000, and the slabs to tarmac to be reduced by 278,000. Sorry, apologies for that. So the HRA revenue budget 24-25 attached as Appendix B, we recommended the council for approval. The rent increase of dwellings of 7.7% and an increase on service charges of 3%, we recommend approval.
Okay, we open for debate the amendment as put forward by the officer. Councillors.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's easy with all the different budgets we're doing now. I can understand the confusion. No, it's fine. I think we've got a rainforest between us all tonight. I can't support the HRA proposal, the amendment. The rent increase is the same as us, no issue. But the issue I have is with the 3% on the fees and charges. Now that may sound good today, immediately, but the long-term ramifications of that for the HRA compound themselves year on year on year. It's the same with council tax. If you make a quick cut here and there, the ramifications keep multiplying throughout the years. And as Councillor Golby highlighted in her original proposal, but the point still stands on the amendment, that the HRA needs to be financially sustainable for the long run. And if it isn't financially sustainable and we don't do these decisions, it means our ability to actually respond to emergencies, to do upgrades, and to look at new council housing stock in the future becomes diminished. And I think one thing we would all agree on as a council is that we do need to increase the council house stock that we have and the social housing stock. But this proposal would potentially undermine that possibility moving forwards. So for that very reason, Mr. Mayor, I can't support the amendment as proposed. I understand why, but we have to look at the long term, not just today. And I think that's why this is a misguided amendment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Do any other member wishing to speak? Councillor Steppers, would you like to respond? Okay. In which case we need to move that to the vote. We are voting on the opposition's alternative proposal for the housing revenue account. Is that correct? We will need to take on a recorded vote to actually pass it on to Craig, Chief Executive.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Crone.
Actually, I believe it would be a recorded vote when it becomes the substantive motion, if it wins. But until then, it's just an ordinary show of hands. And then, if it did win, it becomes a substantive motion, and then we'd have to have a recorded vote. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Crone. In which case we'll go to a hands vote. Those in favour of the alternative proposal by the Labour Party in regards to the housing revenue accounts budget, those in favour? Thank you. Those against? And abstentions? I'm afraid that's thank you. So we go back to the original proposal, as put forward by Councillor Golby. You wish to respond? No. Anybody else wish to speak on the proposal? Yes, Councillor Croft.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Members will be very happy to know that my remarks will get shorter and shorter as the evening progresses. But just to pick up one of the points raised in the debate, or a few of the points raised in the debate, just to talk through in broad terms what the problems we've had with the HRA. The first one is the problem with debt management, which is what I discussed in Council in December, I believe, which is that the borrowing for the HRA, there was no provision made to pay it back. So borrowing to the council was inside of a provision each year, called minimum revenue provision, to pay off a portion of the debt when it matures. That was not done on HRA. It was always just assumed that it would be reborrowed when the debt fell due. So it kept throwing the problem into the future. You can get away with that when you've got interest rates at square root of nothing. You can't get away with that when you've got interest rates of 4 or 6% with public works loan for. So that's the problem we have to address. We have to start liquidating and repaying some of that debt. That's the first problem. The second problem that Councillor Golby has already alluded to is the chronic lack of data that we've had access to. You cannot set a proper, sustainable, meets the needs of your physical reality in your housing stock business plan without data from the ground, without sufficient surveys being done. As we have dug into it over the past 12 months, we've discovered that that base data fundamentally is not there, so there will be absolutely no point setting a new business plan at this juncture, and that's one of the reasons why we set an interim budget for the next 12 months until a new business plan can be constructed over the summer, and work is already progressing on that. The third issue is that in the existing business plan, the business plan that we inherited that was meant to last decades, there was a huge assumption made, again, that a lot of the capital works would be paid for by borrowing. And again, you can sort of get away with that if you're not putting aside provision to pay off debt, and the interest you're paying on it is next to nothing. But you really can't get away with that. In the current climate. The upshot of that is that by the end of the programme, we'd have been sitting on about £273 million of debt, which is the best part of £300 million that the Council was referring to. Now, Council Constable seems to think that we've inflated our way up to sort of county council level, but by the end of the programme, I think that even with inflation built in, that is an enormous risk to the council. That is the working levels of debt that we refer to this evening. We do not want to get into that situation. And I'll just put in one more point that you raised, is that council officers right across the public sector are already very alive to the fact that some people are not brilliant. They just need a bit of help. They need the support, and we are very much ready to provide that support. But I also caution Council Control against the bigotry of soft expectations in that quarter, because we do need to hold people to decent basic standards of a decent society, especially if everybody else is paying or somebody else is helping subsidise their living accommodation. And as he's been begging and sort of hinting that he wants to see their workings and the evidence behind what we've been saying this evening, he says that he thinks that the council is being prejudiced against people with these difficulties. I'm sure he'd like to provide us with the evidence.
Councillor Croft. Councillor Golby, would you like to conclude?
So, the reason why the figures are what they are, as highlighted by yourself, Councillor Kandaka, is because that is based on the current business plan, because we've not redone the business plan yet. Having just spent 10 minutes explaining why we haven't redone the business plan, it just shows everybody how selective hearing operates. Because I've stood here and I've explained it in great detail about the business plan, why we don't have a business plan, why I keep saying it will be ready when it's ready, because we need the base data. We need the information of what we've got, where we've got it, what condition it's in, and what we need to do with it. And this goes across the board for everything that we've got. Every brick that we own in this borough needs to be assessed suitably, so I can make strategic decisions that do not bankrupt this council. Because ultimately, leaving what is in place to run, that is what will happen. Now, there is a question over why has it never been picked up before. So we've gone through, as Councillor Croft alluded to, we're on our third 151 officer since taking over. So that averages, one a year, maybe. Just a little bit less. Congratulations, you get a long service medal. The first 151 officer, who was ultimately the one in place when all of these figures were drafted up, left. Not long after we took over. No accountability there. The second 151 officer was an interim 151 officer who was there to basically keep the lights on. The third 151 officer, we've done the forensic analysis. This is exactly why we've taken such a long time. But there's also the added bonus that we've had to do the same thing through the general fund as well, and through capital projects. So the HRA has come after all of those things. This is why it's taking so long. This is not anything to do with elongating a process that needs elongating. This is a case of we're keeping the lights on, we're doing what we need to do. My teams are really working hard. I can tell you that by the fact that I've told you how many kitchens they've installed and how many thousand metres of fencing they've put up. So to sit there and say otherwise, again, is quite disparaging, I think. And also, on the staff and the zero tolerance aspect of this, we don't kick out people just for fun. we have to go through legal processes to evict people out of homes. And we have to meet a series of pretty high bars to get that done. And we've had lots of success in doing that so far. We do not just drag people out of their houses, as you are portraying, or pick on the vulnerable. We don't do that. Actually, what we do is we have a multi-agency approach if we've got anybody with vulnerabilities. We call in social services. We call in child services. We do that. And you'll know what I'm talking about. So we do that. So to say that my team just go in and evict people, no, we don't. We absolutely don't. And I will defend those teams to the hilt, because you have sat in this chamber and disparaged them on multiple occasions, and I've pulled you up for it on multiple occasions, and then you go out there and you badge it as a personal attack. It's not a personal attack, it's me correcting what you have put on the public record, because everything in this room is on the public record. So I have to do that because it's only fair. The personal attacks, again, they're not personal attacks. They're not. I've seen some of the things that you've put out about me recently. Some of the quite disgusting things you've put out about me recently. I've seen them. People send them to me. People send them to me, even though you know that I've blocked you on as many channels as I possibly can, because you've actually posted that on Facebook. So the personal attacks are not personal attacks, they are corrections of misinformation that you are putting out against this council, against me as a portfolio holder, against my colleagues and against officers. And I will continue to do that should I need to. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Dalton. At that point, we'll take it to the vote. It is a recording vote as required. I'll pass over to Fred, Chief Executive.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is the vote for the housing revenue account budget for 24-25 as presented by Councillor Colby. If Councillors could indicate whether they are for, against or abstain for that particular item. Councillor Baxter-Payne?
For.
Councillor Beetham?
For.
Councillor Brown?
For.
Councillor Clark?
For.
Councillor Cooper?
For.
Councillor Coventry-Morton? Councillor Croft?
For.
Councillor Kirkridge?
For.
Councillor Colby? Councillor Green?
For.
Councillor Goodrich?
For.
Councillor Condicor?
Against.
Councillor Markham? Councillor Morton?
For.
Councillor Pandey?
For.
Councillor Phillips has left the meeting. Councillor Jill Shepherd? Councillor Tracy Shepherd? Councillor Shires? Councillor Singh?
For.
Councillor Smith?
For.
Councillor Mantrowens? Councillor Rob Trowens?
For.
Councillor Walsh?
For.
Councillor Wilson?
For.
And Councillor Wright.
Is carried. In which case we shall move on to item number 11F, capital budget 24-25, and I ask Councillor Croft.